for it to appear. Boom. Turn it all the way up. Okay, we're gonna give everybody time to get in. Make sure we got all our inputs. Picture in picture. Alright. Game board. Okay. We got photos. Doing good. Alright. Give everybody time to get on board. This is the Electric Coast channel, and we welcome you. This is our latest live video. And here we're going to discuss and tweak bases, base theory. Move over to the game table. Gonna do some preparation. Got the coffee mug warmer getting warmed up, because we're going to use this to work on our bass. We're working on these prongs right here. Got this one, and I have a Formula 55 bass up here somewhere. I have it right here on this Haley Reid Pro defensive back. So whenever I tweak a bass, I always tweak on a standard figure first. No customization, no paint job, just a regular standard figure to get the balance of the figure, to get the balance of the bass first, and then I'll assign it to a customized player. See? This bass right now is brand new out the pack. Took it from this bag right here. This bass is a ITZ Formula 55 bass. This is the green DSB bass, your boat bases, or your bullet bass, if you will. It's bullet because of the rounded front on it. I got pictures of it. I'll show it to you in the video when we go forward. Okay, we got a couple of people in the room. Hey, let us know you're here. Let us know you're here. This is the Electric Coast channel, and I welcome you. I welcome you. Yeah, we're gonna hold on. We're gonna hold off on this bass until everybody get in. Yeah, as you can see right now, the bass is brand new, straight out the pack. No pliers have been applied to it yet. No heat has been applied, and the bass doesn't move. But we're gonna make it move in this video. All right. Well, meanwhile, I'm gonna be working with this bass here that I did some tweaks on. Gonna play with it. We're gonna play with this for a little while. Good movement. Good movement. Yeah, this is another ITZ bass, which is different from the one I just showed you a moment ago. I forget the title, the type of bass that is, but as you can see, it's a this bass doesn't have a dial. All right. Although you can make this bass turn left and right with a different type of tweak, but I like to use these basses. I like to set these basses up to go straight. Now, if the bass comes out and it turns naturally, then I'll keep it and I'll use it at a different position. All right. We're looking at the chat. Nobody's talking. Okay. We'll give folks more time to come in. Okay. This wide receiver's base is showing me a little promise here. But I'm not gonna. Although I got this bass on one of my linebackers, right? I'm not gonna put this bass on this guy. Matter of fact, let me weigh these guys real quick. Get my scale out. Yeah, this bass right here was giving this bass on this figure a little show, but I'm thinking it's because of the weight difference. Let's see. Move down some. Okay, yeah, that linebacker and bass comes in at 3.57 to the receiver. Yeah, this one comes in at 3.70. So they both are TOC compliant. But this figure in bass, this is my my Eagle receiver, Devontae Smith. Yeah, he's a little bit heavier than this linebacker right here. So that's probably why he was winning the pushing battle. I was kind of worried for a moment there. All right. Hey, don't be shy, guys. Come on in. Come on in. Let us know you're here. Let us know you're here. So yeah, we're still warming our coffee mug warmer here. You see that in your top left corner of your screen there. Still waiting for those pliers to get a little warm. All right. Meanwhile, we get some more people in. We'll go wide open with this discussion today. Okay. Welcome. This is the Electric Coast channel, and I welcome you. We're going to discuss bass tweaking and bass theory. I'm not gonna keep you long. Test 1 2 test. Check mic. Microphone check. Check. Check mic. Check mic. This is the Electric Coach channel, and I welcome you. I'm Mo Rob, the Electric Coach. Give more time for people to come in. Been up for 18 minutes now. Going to give our viewers time to come in. And we'll get started. We give our viewers time to come in. Going on 19 minutes now. All right. Get back over to the field. Okay, Devontae Smith's bass. This Devontae Smith figure in bass is pushing everybody around. Well, after all, this is a different bass right here, though. It's a different ITZ bass. This bass is a little bit lighter than this bass right here. All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. Go ahead and get on the scale right here. And we already know the Devontae Smith figure weighs 3.70. 3.69 give or take. Alright, 370 give or take. At any rate, it's TOC compliant. Then we're going to take the AJ Brown figure right here. We're going to put him on the scale. And he comes in at 3.67. So he's like 0.3 of a gram lighter. But then again, the tack on this base is a little bit more sticky. So that's another reason why this base is giving us more push. Alright. Our coffee mug warmer is still warming. Still warming our pliers here. Okay, so we've been up now for about 23 minutes, going on 23 minutes. Give a little bit more time for our viewers to come in. Okay? So we've been up now about 26 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and start it off. We're going to go ahead and get this video started. All right. So, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about bass, bases and bass theory. We're not going to cover every bass in the hobby, but we're going to just generally speak about, what to do with your basses when you get them. All right? You only got but two hands, right? So you can only work on one bass at a time. Unless, of course, you want to pay somebody to handle your basses for you. By watching this video, I'm going to give you the skill set. I'm going to teach you the skill set on how to handle your own basses. That's if you're interested in doing that. All right. And the bass I want to start with is this ITZ bullet bass. This is a Formula 55. The formula number talks about the softness of the plastic. Now in this case, the Formula 55 bases is a firmer plastic. So usually firmer plastics, in regards to our basses, they give us less traction, more slippage, if you will, because the plastic is a little harder. Usually your softer plastic bases give you more traction, and they tend to grip the board better, and they tend to resist a lot better as well. But as you tweak, you change the characteristics of the bass, and you may get the bass to do more things on top of what it normally would do. If it's a resistant bass, it grabs the board. It may give you speed also. All right. If the bass is like this Formula 55 bass, if it's a harder bass, after you tweak it, it may slow down a little bit, and it may give you some resistance. So depending on your strategy and how you want to set your team up will determine where you put the bass set on your team and how you use it and when you use it during gameplay. All right. So the first thing I like to do, got my needle nose pliers here at the ready. And like I said earlier, got the coffee mug warmer, warming up these pliers right here, because we're going to put some heat on this Formula 55 bass after we flatten the prongs. Now, any bass I get out the bag, I run it first. All right? And as you can see, the bass is kind of choppy. And the way you can tell, all right, for those of you outside the hobby who don't understand, right? Watch this guy compared to that guy. Watch what happens. You see that? As soon as the board turned on, this guy is gone. He's up the board. This guy right here is still standing still, although he moved a little bit. All right? So now, our first objective is to get this bass to respond when the board turns on. All right? And I like using my needle nose pliers. Well, my Zurn pliers. All right? These pliers have a thinner head, and they allow me to grab each individual prong on this bass. All right? This is a prong, that's a prong, and so on. So you have a total of 8 prongs on this bass. All right? Now, I like to start with the back prongs. Okay? So I simply take my pliers, set it on a prong like that where I can hold it, see? And I press down. Try to move these fingers out of the way. And I press down and I come all the way down the prong. All right? What we're doing here is we're simply flattening this prong out. We're pinching the prong using our Zurn pliers. And do one prong at a time. I have other tweak videos on my channel, and from time to time I like to come and do another tweak video, because as I grow in the hobby, which I've been playing my whole life, you know, I need refresher courses. I need help. I need to, you know, redo things to re-educate myself, right? And I want to share that with you. So I'm gonna grab each one of these prongs, and I'm coming all the way down the prong, right? In an effort to soften this plastic. Now go to this prong over here. Because remember, what you do on one side, all right, you got to come over and do it on the other side too. All right. So grab each prong and flatten it. Just press down on it a little bit. Now what I recommend for new tweakers, don't be in a hurry to really bite down on your prong. Don't be in a hurry to squeeze real heavy on your pliers. All right. What you want to do is you want to get used to pinching your prongs and squeezing them, and you want to observe them. Look at how the plastic responds to the pliers. And don't be in a hurry to go with the heated pliers yet. Remember how I showed you earlier? The coffee mug warmer here, right? We're not coming to these just yet. We're just working with cold pliers right now. All right? Cold. We'll save the heat for later. Right? All right. So now, I press down these rear prongs a little bit. All right. So what I want to do next is I want to flip the base over like so, and do those same rear prongs again, except I'm now pressing down my thumb, my press down part of my hand, my thumb, is now going to be pressing down on this side of the prongs. See, at first I was pressing on the inside, right? In here. When I flip the base over, now I'm pressing down on the back side of the prong. All right? I want you to think of the prongs like your teeth. You got a tongue side of your tooth, and you have the lip side of your teeth. In this case of the prong, this side of the prong is the lip side. This side of the prong is your tongue side. Got it? All right, so we're going to flip the base over. Taking our Zurn pliers again. And we're going to press. Because the objective right now, short-term objective right now, is to get this base to move. Because you remember how you saw what it did when we first tried it, right? Base stood still, right? Let me check comments. Okay. Nobody's come in yet. Okay. Well, we're going to keep going. So then we got to do this side over here. These prongs on this side. All right. And we're pressing down on the lip side of the base. All right. And as we do that, we're going to take our finger and we're going to sweep those prongs back. You also can use neither of those pliers. Okay, we have Sebastian Stark. Welcome, Sebastian. His question is, he says, hey coach, just tuned in to check out this base action. Hey, welcome. Hey, I got plenty of bases for you. Plenty of bases. We got packs of bases here. Different ITZ, different types of ITZ bases here. Alright. So just got through pressing on these back prongs on both sides. This is a Formula 55 base, by the way, by ITZ. Alright. So I'm working the back prongs right now. So the only thing we're doing right now is pressing on the prongs, and we're setting these prongs up to get swept back. See if I can get the angle here. It's a very light green base. Yeah, so you want the prongs, when you tweak, this is the front of the base right here. Alright? Up this side, the front of the base. So you want your prongs to lean back, pointing toward the back side of the base. As a matter of fact, like on your keyboard, if you at your computer, right? If you look at the / key on your keyboard, I think that's something that'll be a good example. Either that / or that / key. That's how you want your bases to sit. All right. Okay, Sebastian Stark, you said I've been tweaking all kinds of bases, and some I can do better than others, and others looking for ways to get better. Yeah. Among the different manufacturers of bases, the plastic varies. So your softer bases, you got to handle those bases with kid gloves. You can't just be too aggressive on softer bases, because you can over tweak them and you can render the base useless. All right. So got my back prongs here, and you have my needle nose pliers. All right. And what I want to do, I want to grab those prongs and curl them a little bit, so that we can encourage these prongs to sweep to the rear. All right. Question for you, Sebastian. Did you see the live video I did, I think it was last week, concerning the figure repair that I had done, or at least attempted to do? Here's the figure right here. I digress from this video for a moment, but it's still EF. I took the green stuff off of the this wire insert right here. I took it off because I'm gonna do it again, because my first approach didn't come out very well. So I'm gonna use this figure here to practice on with my my green stuff. That's just this figure right here was shown in the last live video I had done concerning how to repair a broken figure, and I worked on this broken arm right here. All right, I'll be back later with other videos for that. You got hold of some Buzzball speed diamonds, and they are definitely fast, but I'm having some difficulties in getting them to run straight. All right, when you tweak your base, and if all your bases tend to run left, run right, you want to pay attention to the positioning of your wrist. When you grab a base, when you grab a prong, I'm gonna try to show it as best I can here. You grab a prong like so, right? You have a tendency to twist your hand, and when you do that, you twist the prongs, and when you twist your prongs, you cause the base to turn when you go to run, when you run test the bass. So you want to keep your hand as straight as possible when you press down your prongs. All right. So you gotta, man. Another thing too, you want to make sure the pliers are straight in your hand. If you hold them crooked, twisting your wrists, you'll twist the prongs, and you'll cause your bass to run. You cause your bass to loop left or loop to the right, or sometimes it'll snake. Sometimes, all right. But that's something you got to work on yourself. You got to be cognizant of your hand placement. All right. So now I was on the back side of this bass. All right. So I'm flattening these prongs here. I haven't gone to the front yet. All right. I'm taking my needle nose pliers and I'm curling the prongs to encourage these prongs to lay back, to sweep backwards, like the slash on your keyboard. Look at the slash on your keyboard and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right. Let's see. I can't get to them right now. Try to find a little training aid here. I should have already had it out, but I think this card should do. Right. All right. Let's do this. Okay, you see this bookmark right here? Think of this as a prong. Let's back up a little bit. Okay. When the bass touches the board, it's on the board like that, right? Now when the prong is standing straight up just like this, your bass is going to just bounce around and jump around. It's not going to move. Right? Now, as you tweak the bass and you curl the prongs, right? As you tweak and curl the prongs, those prongs are going to lay down like that. Think of this side as the forward direction, okay? It's going this way. That's how you want your basses to look. You want your prongs to look. You see? And you can adjust the curl or the lean, if you will. You want that much lean, you can put that in there. You want to lay it down some more, you can do that. And as you do that, the face of the prong will lay on the board like this sometimes. And with that, you can get, power, or you may even get a little bit of speed. All right? Some guys sandpaper that edge of the bass, or prong, if you will, that's contacting the board, and they do that to get more acceleration out the prong. All right. Also, you get into the core of the plastic. All right. When you look at the edge, because it's cross section of the paper, right? Again, think of it. I'm using this as a training aid for your prong. All right. There's a cross section. And every time you smash on it, you make that cross section leaner. And then when you shave away, if you use sandpaper, which I don't use, if you use sandpaper on the bottom edge of the prong that contacts the board, you increase acceleration. There are pros and cons to doing that with sandpaper. With sandpaper, you're taking away from the bass. You take away from the prongs. And sometimes you can cause the bass to collapse under the weight of the figure. And we're still working on those back prongs there. You said, now, you said it's all in the wrist. Right on. I'll try to be sure I'm using straight contact and holding ply straight. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, that's what this channel is about, Sebastian. It's about giving you tips and about teaching you how to handle your bases and your figures so that maybe perhaps you can compete in a tournament. Or if you don't compete in a tournament, it will make your solitaire play more exciting. Your other question was, I also always squeeze just on what you call the tongue side of the prong. I've never squeezed on the lip side. Yeah, you want to squeeze both sides of that prong. You're flattening those prongs. That's what you're doing. All right? Think of it like ironing your pants legs. You got a pair of jeans, you iron them. You iron the front, and you iron the back, and you iron the sides, of course, right? You got to get all the whole legs to get all the wrinkles out. All right? So now in this case, now I said iron the sides. Never should you grab your prongs like this. Let's move up. You should never grab your prong like that. Never squeeze that way. All right? Let me get my training aid back out here. Here's the prong. Never grab like this. See my fingers? Never squeeze that way. Always this way. Both sides. This way. On this side. This side. Alright? Never on the sides of the prong. Alright? Because if you did that, then you'll ruin your base. Alright? Okay. So now, where did I set my, here we are. Now I'm still operating on the back prongs here. So I'm going to curl these prongs again. We're trying to encourage this base to move forward. All right. And as you smash on the prongs will get a little softer. All right. Let's run it and see what we got. Although the run was a bit choppy, just by touching the back prongs, the base moves a whole lot better. All right. Now, did a little bit of work on the back. We're going to now work on these front prongs right here. All right. And by the way, since you're here, Sebastian, how is the audio? Is it too low? Is it just right? What do you think? Send in your comment. Let me know what you have. Okay. Now, we've already touched the back prongs a little bit. Okay. I'm going to now move to these front prongs. And here's what I like to do with the front prongs. I'm going to take the man off the base. All right. And I'm going to take this dial out of the shell of the base. See? So when you do this, you really can get at those front prongs. That's the beauty of these dial bases. You can really get at the front when you're ready to tweak. All right. Okay. Audio is fine from where you're sitting. Okay. So you're watching this from your computer, right? If you are, what volume do you have your sound card at? Where do you have it? If you'd be so kind, let me know. If you don't know where your sound card is, look at the bottom right corner of your screen and you're going to see a speaker. If you're using Windows, I'm assuming, the bottom right corner of your screen, there's a speaker. And you click on it and it'll tell you what your audio setting is. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Okay, here's my computer screen, right? If you move your mouse down here at the bottom right corner of your screen, you click on the speaker, and it'll show you your volume right there. On this computer, my volume is set to 55. That's way too high, but that's where it was last when I used it. But anyway, that's where your volume is. Your sound card, that's your sound card's volume. What do you have it set at? And when you want your speaker volume to go away, click the speaker again. Back at the table. All right. So now we have our dial. All right. And we're going to do the same thing to the dial that we did to the rear prongs on our bass. All right. Left side, and we're going to turn the dial over, and we're going to do the tongue side. Let me get my needle nose pliers to show this better. All right. To get my fingers out of the light. You got lip side, right? And you flip it over. You got the tongue side. All right. So you're gonna do, okay, let me see. You're watching from my PC, and I run my volume at 20%, standard for all my YouTube videos. My master volume is set to 100 because I like to bring the noise like a boat. Okay. Good to go. Got your master volume at 100? Great. You sound good. All right. So now, we're going to do the same thing with these front prongs right here. Taking out Zurn pliers. I like to use my Zurn pliers on these individual prongs like these. They fit perfectly over the prong. Although, I got these flat pliers here, which are a little bit thicker than my Zurns. But the Zurns give you that, they give you that detail, that really deep bite I like to get when I tweak. Also have a thicker pair of flat prongs too. Flat nose pliers. Alright. So I use those when I like to use those wider prongs, those wider pliers when I'm ready to set the prongs. Oh, how's it going, Howard Klein? Glad you could join us. Yeah, we're here tweaking a Formula 55 ITZ bass. So the only thing we've done so far, we just use cold pliers. Now we're going to eventually move over to our coffee mug warmer and get our warm pliers. We're going to put our warm pliers on this plastic right here. All right, as we tweak. Okay. So glad you could come. Sebastian, you said, man, you have more tools than Bruce Wayne. You should wear your own utility belt with all your tools. Yeah, hey, listen. In this game, you're going to need, different types of pliers. We're going to get to this dial in just a moment. Let me digress for a moment here and talk. These are just two sets of pliers. Needle nose pliers, Zurn pliers, different sizes of flat duckbill pliers. The pliers I use on my coffee mug warmer, these pliers are specifically, I use these pliers specifically for the coffee mug warmer. All right, because as you apply heat to your pliers, the heat transfers into the handles, and it'll make your handles slide off. So I have these pliers that are specifically used for warming. I want those pliers to take the heat. All right. Also, over time, as you press on the pliers, when you use them, the handle, after so many times getting hot, the handle will snap off. We got guys in the hobby who really like to bite down on their pliers, and they break handles. All right. So these are some of the tools. I like to also use a caliper to measure the thickness of my prongs after I flatten them out. All right. Also got a clamp here to hold my base when I set them on this tweak tool here. This tweak tool is also for trimming the tips of your prongs on your bases. Let's move this picture out of the way. Yeah, when you want to measure when you want to trim the tips of your prongs, this is a tool you use. And there's some individual ones as well, like this. All right, that one's for 3 millimeters. That one's for 2 millimeters. 1.5 millimeters. All right. These are for trimming prong tips. All right. Let's see what we got. Howard Klein, fine, thank you. How are you? I just got in from Georgia. Oh, I'm doing great, Howard. Doing great, man. Just at the game table, working on some bases. I decided to come on here and do a live. Do I use the ITZ Merch pliers? No, I don't have a pair of those pliers. All my pliers are straight up. I got straight pliers. You know, I don't have those ones that curl like this. I haven't bought a pair of those yet. Yeah. So yeah, in order to tweak your bases and really to be, you know, skillful in this hobby, you're gonna need tools. I even got a heat gun right here. Yeah, a heat gun. Because you can't if you have your pliers that are too hot, they can melt certain types of bases, like your Formula 37 bases. If your pliers are over 70 degrees hot, 70 degrees, you'll melt the prongs and you'll render the base useless. All right. Like, okay, I got these pliers here on the coffee mug warmer warming, right? I'm gonna take the heat gun and I'm gonna point it at the coffee mug warmer. And the coffee mug warmer right now is at a temperature of 148.4 degrees. All right. So if I was to take those pliers right now, well, this is Celsius. Let me change that. Gotta wait for it to clear out. That was Celsius. That was 148.4 degrees Celsius. I want Fahrenheit. Need to clear this out. If I were to take these pliers right now off this warmer and put it straight to a Formula 37 base, it'll melt the prongs. I'm going to show you how to handle your hot pliers in a moment. Let's see what we got. Okay, Sebastian, you said you melted one of your Formula 100 bases accidentally because the pliers were too hot, so I can testify on that point. Yes. At the end of the day, we all know what happens to plastic when you introduce heat. All right? We're not ready to put heat on this Formula 55 base yet, because we're still flattening prongs. All right? So yeah, when you introduce heat, okay, you know what's going to happen to your plastic If it gets too hot, it's going to melt. All right, and you said you wrecked another when you placed it on your coffee mug warmer, even though I only placed it on there for a second. Yeah. When you do that, all right, like when you set your, let me move these pliers out of the way. Give me a moment, guys. Need my needle nose, need my zerns. Put them over here. I don't need these. I want you to think of the board as coffee mug warmer. And one thing coaches do, right? They'll take a whole base, set it on the warmer like that, and lift it. And that's how they get an even melt on the tips of the prongs. All right, I took the dowel out of this base because we're going to tweak the prongs on the dowel, so be patient. Now, when you do that, if you're a millisecond too slow picking that base up, you run the risk of melting or destroying your prongs. So the way you remedy that, you want to take a figure, put a figure on the base, and use the figure as a handle, if you will. All right? So you drop it, get it. Drop it, get it. Because if you just try to use the base, one, you got to get your hand low enough to grab the base. That means burning your fingertips. And if you miss, do something like that, and then the base has been sitting on the coffee mug warmer too long now. All right. So you get yourself a figure. Use it as a handle. Right? And you hold it around the leg area like so. Set it, lift it. Set it, lift it. Just that quick. All right? Don't do this. Try to knock it over. Because what you've done is the side that left the coffee mug warmer is cooling, but the other side is still sitting on the coffee mug warmer. Just a millisecond longer. And that one side got melted more than the other side. You want that figure and base to go straight down, straight up. Straight down, straight up. And that's going to require practice. And that's something I can't teach you. Your hands and your reaction time is on you. So what I recommend, set it, pick it up. Set it, pick it up. Just like that. All right? Not a millisecond too long. All right? So now, let's move. Let me get the temperature real quick of our coffee mug warmer. Got it in Fahrenheit. Okay, in Fahrenheit, the coffee mug warmer registers at 296 degrees. That's the surface of the coffee mug warmer. All right. Now what I'm going to do while I'm here, I'm going to get the measurement of the actual plier. I want to point the beam right there on the metal of the plier to see what temperature we have. Okay, the pliers themselves, 269 degrees, 0.6 degrees. Still too hot. If I was to put those pliers straight on the plastic without like waving them first, those pliers will melt this Formula 55 base. Alright. Alright. So now, let's get back. What did he say? Sebastian, you said, see, I don't have a heat gun. I have no idea how hot my warmer gets. I know it got high enough to wreck my base. And yeah, I got this right here. You can get it from Walmart. You can get it from, you can get it from Harbor Freight. I only paid about $15 for this. Something like that. I bought it years ago. Paid about $15 for it, so it's not expensive at all. So yeah, go to your nearest hardware store or Walmart. You'll find one. All right. So now, onto this dial. All right. Just drop that. Onto this dial. Okay. We are going to flatten the prongs on this dial, keeping track of our hand placement, making sure we don't twist the prong. All right. Now, twisting the prongs can be good if you want to use it. If you want your bass to turn a little bit more, you can deliberately twist the prong to get your bass to turn to the left or turn to the right. That's another technique. All right. But what I'm showing you here is fundamental tweaking skills. Flattening the prongs, warming the prongs, and possibly flashing, which I'll talk about in a moment. All right, I'm doing the lip side of these prongs on the front of the bass. All right, so I'm gonna flip the bass over, the dial over, and I'm gonna do this side. All right. Make sure our hands are in the camera here. And this is involving miniature figures. So with my hand in the way, you may have a little bit of trouble seeing. But basically what I'm doing is I'm just flattening these prongs using these Zurn pliers. All right. And with the dial outside of the shell, we can get at those prongs a lot easier. All right. So we want to make sure, take our finger and want to touch them a little bit. And we can get our needle nose pliers and we can put a little curl on these prongs to encourage forward movement. Okay. Curl them back. A little bit light. Let me get my pliers here. All right. Look at from the side. All right. Because basically, you want those prongs to lean back. This is the back side. This is the back edge of the bass here. This is the front of the bass. So the bass will go that way. All right. If I don't answer your comments, immediately, it's because my screen is behind me as I'm facing the board. Okay. So I'll turn around and check. We have here some, Howard Klein. You said Amazon infrared thermometer temperature gun, 58 degrees, digital laser temperature gun, pizza oven, grill and engine. Okay, IR thermometer. Yeah, you can go to Amazon and find one. Amazon has everything, so you can go there and check it out. All right. So now we have the bass shell and we have the bass dial. Two different parts, right? They come together and make one. So we're going to put the dial back inside this shell. Right? Very simple. Snap in. Make sure it shows up on the outside edge of the shell. And you can turn it. You can turn the dial, see? Using your thumb and your index finger. You can turn the dial, and this will encourage the bass to turn left or turn right. And that, combined with your tweaks, will give you the performance and execution that you're looking for. All right. Make sure the dial is fully seated into the bass. And while I'm here, also want to tell you about, I've said this before in previous videos, you want your magnifying glass. This will help you to see well into the bass. All right. I also have a microscope over here on the other side of the room. I didn't bring that into. I didn't put that into the production. But yeah, you want to use this magnifying scope. All right. It has a little monocle on it. It'll help you get a little more detailed look if you're looking for that. All right. So we put this away. So yeah, again, you gotta have tools to be effective in this hobby. All right. Back in the day, in our early days when we were kids, we used to tweak using our fingers. So if you got a new bass, we would just take our finger and sweep across the prongs like this in an effort to encourage the prongs to lay down. But we didn't know about the detail work. I tell the story all the time. There was an older guy who played. This was back in the day. Back when I was a young lad. It was an older guy. He was in his 30s, and his men used to run circles around us. I could have been no more, maybe like 11 years old. And I was asking this guy, like, how you get your players to run like that? And he would not tell us. And it wasn't until I came back to the hobby in 2002 where I heard about guys tweaking basses. And I'm like, what are you talking about, tweaking basses? And then when I saw the guys, playing and their figures were flying up and down the board, I said, wait a minute. That's how the guys' basses used to play back in the day when I was a kid. But he wouldn't tell us. I said, oh, he was tweaking and he wouldn't tell us what to do. And that's why I'm here today as the electric coach. Because I remember how I was denied back then. I said, never again, never will I do that. I won't hold back nothing from nobody, man. And so it had a profound effect on me. So, yeah, this guy was just running all over us. He wouldn't tell us. So, here I am today, showing you guys what I tried to learn back when I was a kid, but I found out later from some other guys in the hobby when I came back to the hobby. So now we're gonna run this bass after we press down the prongs on the rear and the front of the bass. It's turning. And the reason why, because the dial was turned. Alright, and it did bounce a little bit. So while I have it, I'm going to put some more curl on these front prongs here. Alright, and don't be afraid to, when you grab your prongs, don't be afraid to tear them or break them, because they won't tear, they won't break. It's just that when you put heat on them, that's when you got to be careful. Okay, I'm gonna straighten that prong out real quick. Let me check comments before we run this. Let's see, we have Sebastian says, no worries, coach, you are on point, and thanks for the info, Howard. That's some detail right there. I can get my bases tweaked and checked. It says check my pizza at the same time. That's what I call efficient. And Howard, you say you're welcome. They do not sell the ones I bought anymore. And Howard, you answered. Amazon, these temperature settings, coffee mug warmer, and Banglin coffee mug warmer. Okay, coffee mug warmer, blah, blah, blah. That bass turning has happened to me the same way. You have any tips to make that dial stay in place? Okay. Real quick, Before I answer that question, Sebastian, let me run this bass real quick. Let's get to that. Okay, we got movement. Now you want to know why the bass jerked the way it did? Too much curl on the front prongs. All right. Now I'm going to get to that curl in a moment. See these pliers right here? The plastic jaws. These pliers right here are used for tuning guitars. Yeah. Yup. These pliers, these are your standard pliers with the soft prongs. Let me dust them off real quick because I hardly haven't even used these in a while. Sweep them off. These pliers are used for guitar tuning. That's why you got those plastic jaws in here. Right? And the way you keep your dial from sliding, because sometimes if your dial gets loose, it'll slip on you, right? Sometimes when the board vibrates those dials, the dial may slip out of position on you. And just as your player is about to go in the end zone, the dial will turn and your guy do that. Yes, that happens. All right. Now, to work with that turning issue, what I do is you gotta take the dial out of the shell of the bass. And do you see that little tip right there? Let's move it up a little bit. See that tip right here? That's where the dial sits on. All right? And what I do with these guitar tuning pliers, open them up. I open the pliers all the way. Grab the bass like that. That's a little bit too loose. Grab the bass just like that. And I smash. Because what I'm doing is I'm expanding, I'm stretching that tip inside the bass's shell. Make sure we got it. And we bite down on it. Just like that. You see that? I'm squeezing it. Okay? I turn it over and do the other side. Just like this. Now I am stretching the shell a little bit, but that's going to come back. That'll be okay. We press on it. All right. Then we put our dial back in the shell and we check the tightness of that dial in the shell. And there it is. It's a little bit firmer. It doesn't just slide around. The dial doesn't slide around. All right. That's one way you can do it. Let's check comments. All right. Okay. So Sebastian and Howard, you guys are talking between yourselves. Cool. All right. So I now have the dial tightened. I flatten the prongs a little bit. All right. I can smash on them some more. All right. We still have the warm pliers over here. All right. We'll get to it in a moment. Okay, Sebastian, you said, so smashing the anchor for the dial is the way to prevent that unintentional turning. Howard isn't the only one going to church today. I can't wait to give that technique a try. Okay, yeah. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do, you know those, you know what? You know how you have loose leaf paper in your notebook? and the hole on the paper tears, and the paper slides out from the notebook, you can get those paper reinforcers also, and you can stick that onto the back side of the dial, and it will provide you with some tack. It'll hold the dial for you. Now, the downside of doing that is you have to be careful how much your figure and base is going to weigh after you do that. All right, I want to show you a picture real quick. I'm gonna go to our computer. I'm gonna bring up, this is the base I'm working on right here. This is the business side of the base. All right, going to get some color in here. Like to use yellow. Yellow shows up pretty good. All right, this is the business side of the base here. All right, and the part that I just flattened was this little circle right there. I took the dial out of the base, okay, and I smashed on that part. Let's see, we got Coach Mo. Whenever I press down on my prongs, seem to go into a weird flat twist. Yeah, Kevin D. Okay, welcome, Kevin D. When you press on your prongs, you want to be careful. I'll do this again. You know, you're late to class, Kevin. No, just joking, man. Just joking. All right. We were talking earlier just about that particular issue. All right. When you hold your pliers, let's switch over back to the field real quick. When you hold your pliers and you smash down, you have a tendency to turn your wrist when you're smashing. Either, depending on what hand you tweak with. I normally tweak my right hand. All right. Sometimes I use my left hand too, just so I can get ambidextrous. But at any rate, whichever hand you use, sometimes you tend to twist the prong while you're flattening it, either this way or that way. Not that much, but a little twist, the slightest twist. And when you do that, it causes the base to turn. Now, you can use that technique if you want your base to turn. You can twist the prong a little bit, and that'll give you that will help your base to turn certain angles. All right, but if you don't want that turn, you gotta be careful to keep your hand straight, and you also gotta make sure the pliers in your hand aren't crooked as you handle the pliers. You understand? So make sure your hands are straight when you press down on the prongs. All right. Some coaches hold the pliers like this. They press down like that sometimes to make sure that the plier is in line with the prong. All right. Sometimes I do it. Now, when you do that, you got to also make sure see how the pliers are leaning a little bit to the side. You got to make sure that those pliers are straight ahead. That's what you want. Okay. Cool. Okay, we got that. So now, let's go back to our picture. You see the base here, right? This is the base that I'm working on right now. The base you see in this current video is the base that is in this picture. And where you see the yellow circle, I didn't want to do that. Where you see the yellow circle, that's the part of the base that I smashed to tighten the dial inside the frame of the figure. Okay, let's clear our ink. And while I have you here, we'll go to another picture. Here's a different ITZ base, and you'll notice the prongs on this base are thicker and they're solid. They're not like the prongs on the previous base that are separated. All right. Now, usually, this type of base is mainly designed for power and strength. We're gonna go back over to the game table momentarily to continue to work on this base. But since I'm here on these pictures, and really this video, there's no script. I don't script my videos. Everything is off the hip. When you look at this type of base, you'll see the prongs are 4 thick prongs, one in each corner of the base. All right, one in each corner of the base, here and over there. All right, those prongs are mainly designed for power. And usually that kind of base is on a lineman. I can use the base on a running back or tight end or corner or safety. But most of the time you'll see guys using this kind of base on a defensive or offensive lineman. Let's move to another one. Okay, here's a different ITZ base, different color. And you'll see again the 4 prongs, the 4 thick prongs, one in each corner. Those prongs aren't as wide as the last base you saw. You see? This base, nope, didn't want to do that. Go back, go back. There's a prong there. Again, touch it, move it. Okay, there's another prong. All right, and you have 2 prongs in the rear. One down here and one over there. Just like 4 tires on your car, right? You gotta have all 4 tires touching the road in order for your car to go. So you gotta have 4 sets of prongs, a set of prongs on each corner of the base for that base to go. Now this base is also designed for power, but it's not designed to have as much power as this base. So depending on the texture of the plastic and the thickness of the prong and your tweak, that's going to determine how that base performs. And of course, along with the figure that you mount on the base, that's all going to contribute to how that base performs. And it's up to you as the electric football coach to determine what base belongs where on your team. Sebastian, you said, do you have a favorite base or bases you like to tweak? Ones you don't like, I'm not a fan of. Okay, feel the front prongs are located too far back. Okay. I'm not biased to any base because I have my approach to playing the game, I'm depending on what a base shows me, I can formulate a game plan on how to use that base. For example, you have the Buzzball speed diamond bases, for example, right? Now, before ITZ, this is like back in, say, the early 2000s, mid 2000s, ITZ wasn't making these types of basses yet. Buzzball had their Speed Diamond basses. So a lot of guys were using the Buzzball Speed Diamond basses and the Buzzball Dial basses mixed in with the Tudor basses. So when ITZ came out with their basses, ITZ, I know I'm long-winded here. ITZ made their basses. They started stepping up, making their CL2s, CL1s, and these now different formula basses. The Buzzball Speed Diamond basses, for me, I like to use it as a blitz bass. You know, at one time it was a receiver or a corner or a kick returner, right? But now with these new ITZ basses, I say, okay, well, Buzzball basses, I'm not going to be able to put those on a corner anymore, because these receivers now in the hobby with guys are now sculpting figures, and the figures a little bit bigger. It's kind of like real football, you know. I'm being long-winded. So the Buzzball Speed Diamond bass, I really don't want to put that cornerback anymore. I can't use that cornerback anymore. So what I do is, if I want to blitz, like if I want to blitz between the tackles, you know, where the coach don't know where it's coming from, I ain't gonna blitz from the outside. I'm gonna blitz from the defensive backfield and come between your guard or your center. The Buzzball bass is perfect for that because it's smooth. It's a slimmer bass. It doesn't have a dial, right? You can tweak it for speed, and you can pick the hole you want and send your blitz through that hole. You see? So depending on what I'm trying to achieve will determine what bass I want to use. Now, if I want things to be held down between the hash marks on the football field, right? This is the bass I want to go to. Right? So the figure I'm going to use on that bass, I'm not going to use your standard Haiti Repro blocker. I'm going to come with, I got a defensive tackle figure I made. I call it the Juggernaut. I got it laid over here somewhere. Right? But anyway, I'm going to put that bass on my defensive tackles. And I'm going to use that bass on the right figure. Yeah, here it is right here. Matter of fact, I got a picture of him. I'm going to bring it up. So again, if I want to hold down the middle of the field, I'm going to use this bass right here, you see. And I'm going to mount it on, I got a figure in here somewhere. Now those are my linebackers. Anyway, I'm going to mount that figure. I want to mount the right figure on this bass to hold down the middle. So with my tweak and the figure I'm going to use, it's going to be ideal for locking down the middle of the field. You see? So again, I don't have any particular bass because I can tweak. You give me any bass, I'll work on it, and I'll find a use for it. And now there is a bass that I did reject. I won't say his name. You know, not gonna say what company it came from, but I'm gonna stop there. Those basses, I'll say this: the bass it wasn't nimble enough to play for me. All right, because once any bass you get after you tweak it, that bass should respond. When the board turns on, that bass should respond. If that bass is slow to get going, it's got too much drag. Again, it can be used, but In football, you need in sports, you want your players to move. Your players aren't moving, you ain't playing. Okay, you said Sebastian said I can pretty much find a use for most of my bases, but my pro lines, okay, in your opinion, haven't found a good use for them yet. Okay, and blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, I got pro line bases too, and I can use those as well. Now, I'm not going to use them to blitz up the middle because those pro lines are a bit wide. You see, I can use that safety. I can use that tight end. You know, especially at safety because the point of attack for my safeties usually come later in the play. So I don't need them to push an opponent off the ball, okay, if you will. All right, so now that base is used for power. I'll move up. Now this is the other base I was just at. This one is also power, but because the prongs aren't as wide as the last base, the power is slightly reduced. Okay? And depending on your tweak will determine if that base gets some speed with a little bit of power. So you can put that base, say like if you wanted it on a slot receiver, something like that, right? Or maybe you got a running back, you want to send them out of the backfield. That base is good to use. All right. Now I wouldn't put. Now if you like to use a fullback, I wouldn't use it for a fullback because at the point of attack, I don't think that base is gonna hold its ground. All right. So, but all in all, this base is a good base. Pretty much all the bases ITZ make are good. All right. So now we're gonna go back over to the game table here. Okay, yeah, Howard. Your sandpaper. No, I don't use sandpaper because sandpaper takes away from the prongs, and it can cause your player. It could cause the base to collapse. You know, under the weight of the player. That's why I don't use sandpaper. Now sandpaper, you can like get really good speed out of your base when you use sandpaper. That's the upside to using sandpaper. Because what you're essentially doing is really when you tweak a base, you're taking away from, you're pulverizing the plastic, if you will. You're breaking the plastic down to make the base more nimble and more responsive. And definitely with sandpaper, when you run your base over sandpaper, you strip the base of, you strip the prongs of some of its thickness and resilience. And again, your base can possibly collapse when you put a figure on it. I'm trying to find that Juggernaut picture in here. Well, I had a picture in here I wanted to show that I use for my defensive tackles. Wow, I don't know where it is. I know it's somewhere. I know as soon as I, turn away and go and do something else, I'm gonna find it. Yes, updated this one. Yeah, here it is. You see this figure right here in the middle? That's my one of my defensive tackle poses, and I call that figure the Juggernaut. Haven't poured any molds for it yet. I like to use that figure. But by the way, these figures right here are all ITZ figures. This Juggernaut figure and this figure are the same figures, just that I sculpted one different than the other. All right, and it's those two guys who I intend to use as defensive tackles. All right, and I would mount them on this kind of base. Just an idea. All right, I know with that base on that figure, I can make things happen in the middle of the football field, because my defensive philosophy is I don't want anybody running between the tackles. If you're going to run, I'm forcing you outside. You see? Keep you running toward the sideline. Right. Don't let you have the middle of the field. That's my defensive philosophy in this game. I digress for a moment. Now, let's get back over to the table and get back on this base. Yeah. So here's the Juggernaut figure I showed you in the picture right here. All right. Let's get back over to the game table. And now we flatten our prongs a little bit. Now, I didn't really bite down too hard on these prongs. So I know, let's say tomorrow, these prongs are going to come right back into shape. Because one, I haven't put any heat on them. I haven't put any heat on them yet. Hit the back prongs again. Flip it over real quick. Just go down the prong. Right. Hit them again. Like you'll see guys at the tournament, before they check their team in, they'll be looking over their prongs, looking at their bases, and just running them through running their figures through drills to make sure their prongs haven't lost their shape. Okay. Turn our monitor back this way. All right, so now we're gonna run this guy, and we're gonna see what we have. See, we have a little bit more forward movement, a little bit choppy because it was bouncy a little bit because these front prongs were grabbing. So we're gonna take a little bit of curl out of those prongs. We're gonna curl the front prongs a little bit the opposite way, more toward the front. Now again, we still have not put our coffee mug warmer on the base yet. Oh yeah, and also you see here I have my cigarette lighter. All right, this is for flashing. All right, that's another thing that you may want to do, or really a lot of times you should do. I do it with pretty much every base. I flash the tips of the prongs. Let's run the base again. All right. I'm gonna have to press down on that tip one more time because it's starting to. That tip is going back into its shape. Okay, as you can see, got better movement. Now it's nowhere near ready. I'm piecemealing this thing for the sake of this video so that you guys can see the progress. All right. So now, what I want to do is I set the base and figure on the board. I'm looking along the side. I'm examining how the prongs contact the board. I turn this way and I look down the front. You literally have to, you set the figure on the board and you have to stoop down and look down at the undercarriage of the base. Have you ever like stooped down and looked under your car? Well, think of the base as the underside of your car. Put the base on the board, stoop down, and you look in there. And you see what prongs, how the prongs are making contact with the board. And just from that little examination, this prong right here, this inside prong right here is slightly off. So I want to get that prong to curl back a little bit to lengthen the prong. Right? Just that small adjustment, we got the base to perform a little bit better. And this guy wants to be in the video. No, over there. All right. So now, I'm not going to put the worn pliers on the base just yet. We're going to flash, right? We're going to use our lighter here. Yeah, this is my better one. All right. So I like doing the back prongs first. I use the figure as a handle. Hold it. Get my flame going like so. Missed. Pass it. Just like that. That's why it's called flashing. You flash the lighter past the prongs, and also it's called flashing because you're removing the excess plastic that may be extending from the tips of the prongs, and that excess plastic is called flash. All right. Then we flip the base over. We're gonna hit these front prongs. All right. Get my heat going. Do that. Just like that, real fast. Now you'll see some coaches, they'll have the flame going and they'll put the figure over top of the lighter like this, and they'll try to capture the heat. That's not my technique. I don't do that. Now, after I flash, inspect the prongs and make sure we didn't like melt one over the other, because sometimes with these dual pronged bases, you can like melt one prong and get the other prong, and then you'll have uneven prongs. All right, so flash looks good. Let's run the base, see what happens. Now, the base runs a little smoother by clearing off the tips of the prongs. Keeps coming back into the video. I put them down here. I could take them off the board, but I'm just being silly. I like to flash most of my bases too. It's amazing how much of a difference it can make on the base. I use a technique similar to yours. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Sebastian. Your lighter, your cigarette lighter, is a very important tool in flashing, and this happens to be one of my good lighters too, because it gives me that good flame, and the fluid is getting kind of low, and unfortunately you can't refill this. You know, this one is perfect. Anyway, let's run it a little bit quicker, because to the naked eye you really can't see the tip of the prongs. That's why you want your magnifying glasses. And if you can, I got a little microscope over here. I can put the base under a microscope and really get in close and look at the edges and look at the tips of the prongs. All right. And while I have it, I'm going to press on these prongs some more. I'm gonna keep hitting them. Now I'm not biting down hard at all. I'm not I'm not like smashing into the prongs. I'm just pressing on them, laying them flat. Because as I tweak this base, every time I press on these prongs get more, they get softer and they get more supple, thus making the base more responsive. Now, people outside the hobby, they'll say, wow, that's a lot of work. You know, and yes, it is. This is a labor of love. This is how an electric football team is built. One base at a time. Okay, flatten the prong some more. Let's run. All right. And you also want to make sure you don't have any dust on your board. You know, throughout the day, your board just sitting out. You know, dust collects on it. Run it again. All right. And this is what tweaking is all about. You get a base, you keep working with it until it responds in the way you want it to respond. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going slow. So it's taking a while to get the base to go. All right. Although it's running. Let's see here. You know, I totally agree with you. Tweaking bases is a lot of work. But for me, it's a hobby. It's something I enjoy. Yes, I definitely enjoy this. I could stay here all day and just work with that one bass. Okay, you see that? Got movement. Let's put him up against somebody. Okay, since you want to be in the video, we're going to bring you in. Okay, we're going to let you play. Okay. You did that. Put you up against Devontae Smith. Push him. Let's see. Yeah, he gets pushed off the ball, but he is lighter. It's a standard figure. It's not a customized figure. All right. So now we see the base moving. Turn it down. Put it back straight. Over here. All right. See that jerk? So that means you just got to do more work to get the bass to respond. Okay. So now I flashed it, flattened the prongs, and now I am going to get the warm pliers. We got our heat gun. All right. So basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you with a cold pair of pliers. These wider jaw pliers, I'm going to use them to grab both prongs at the same time. Move that. I'm going to grab both prongs at the same time. Being careful not to bite too hard, because although these pliers are cold, but the hot pliers, if you bite too hard, you'll smash right through the prongs, and you could possibly ruin them. And then when I do that, I'm going to slide off of them, and I'm going to create a permanent lean in the prongs when they cool off. I'm going to do that for the back as well as these front prongs. Okay? Let's put these back. Now, before I touch those prongs with those hot pliers that you see right here, we gotta check the temperature. I want those pliers to be down to 70 degrees. All right. So now I'm going to grab my pliers. Got them a little handle right here. Off the side. I'm going to touch them. If the pliers sting your hand, that means it's too hot. Let's get a measurement. Right now the pliers are showing 73 degrees. That's good enough. We're gonna touch. That's the back. Right? Now I gotta mount the pliers back on the coffee mug warmer. Because once you lift the pliers off the warmer, they're gonna start cooling really fast. All right. So I got a little clip here I use to hold the pliers at an angle. Set them down just like that and position them where I got the tip touching the warmer. All right. So we did that to the back prongs. We still got to do the front. Then we look at the prongs, we examine them, and make sure we didn't melt the prongs. And when you get good contact, you'll see how smooth the prongs are. All right. You'll get a good angle on the prongs. They're angled and they're even. Let's run the bass. Okay. Not bad get off. Not explosive, but it's showing us promise. It's a lot better than what it was when the bass first came out the pack. Okay. There's the bass that we tweaked, right? I'm going to grab a new one. Take the new one out of the bag. Just like we did with this bass. Here's another one. We're going to set that right there. And the one we just tweaked, we're going to move it over here. We ain't done tweaking, but I want to show you something. See that? That's what the bass was doing. That's what this bass was doing when it first came out the pack. It was running choppy like that one. Right? So what we have now that we've put some tweaks on this bass, we still ain't done. Make sure our dial is straight. See that? The tweaked bass has much better movement than our new bass. And that's what I wanted to show you guys here today. All right? No, this bass is in no way ready to play right now. But from this small demonstration, you saw how we can take a brand new bass and begin to transform that bass so that it can potentially make one of our teams. Okay? Let's see. Kevin D, you're saying I'm known to start a fire and end up burning more than flash. Thanks for these tips. Much appreciation. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. When you flash your bass using your lighter, whatever you do, don't keep the flame on the plastic. Simply Wave the flame over the prongs. If you miss, that's okay. Right? Hold the base using your figure, right, as a handle. And you want to do this to your figure that's not painted. You don't want to do it with your custom figures because you don't want your hands resting on your paint and your decals. Now, you're going to have sealer on your figure and all that, but still, I have a pet peeve. I digress for a moment. I have a pet peeve about allowing painted figures to just rest in my hands or my fingers. That's why I use a standard figure, a plain figure, no paint, just plastic. You hold the figure, hold it in place, and you move the fire over the prongs fast. And you practice that. Now, what you can do is, you said, Patrick Hazen said, can you over tweak a base to, oh yeah, definitely. I got a picture of an over tweak base somewhere. No, I don't have it here. I got it someplace else. Yeah, you can over tweak a base. You can destroy a base beyond recognition, and the base can fail. If you lean on that base too much, or if you keep your base in heat too long when you go to flash it, or when you use your warm pliers, you can melt the plastic and you can render a base useless. I'm going to do another tweak video, and I'm going to bring. I have to bring the picture of a damaged base into the video. I didn't put that picture in this on this computer here. This is my desktop where I show my wares, if you will. For example, there's a decal that I was working on. Again, I digress. But the damaged base, I didn't put it on this desktop right here. So this is my my sport desktop where I do illustrations at and gameplay analysis, by the way. Yeah, so I'm gonna do another tweak video in the future, and I'm gonna show a damaged base that was over tweaked by a coach, not by me. Yeah, I'll do that in the next video. Also, I have to I'm gonna work on my sculpting with green stuff. I got a figure I'm working on. Yeah, you can over tweak a base. When you use your flash, when you use your hot pliers, you want to be careful not to keep the plastic on the heat too long. Alright, so yeah, you've seen the base when it first came out the package, right? And we tweaked on the base a little bit. Let me tighten up this dial again. Gotta take the dial out and get our guitar tuning pliers here. And we're gonna lean and press on this the tip. There's a little tip here. There's a little button here that holds the center of the dial. All right. We're gonna put our dial back. Keep it tight. Let's run. Oh yeah. Live faster. Have everything secured in the base. There it is. Base is running a lot a lot smoother, a lot faster. Let's check the toughness of this base. And it stands up against this guy. This base and figure is heavier than this guy. And as you can see, doesn't get pushed back so easily. And we still haven't put the worn pliers on the front prongs yet. And we still gotta do that. We still gotta smash on the prongs some more. All right. Electric induction engraver can heat the pliers. Yeah, you can warm your pliers using a lot of things. There was one coach on here. He had a device that a dentist used. It was like almost like a cup almost, and he put the pliers inside this warming cup, and it was made of ceramic, and it warmed his pliers. And so you don't necessarily have to use the coffee mug warmer. Excuse me. Yeah, coffee mug warmer is just because it's flat and it's open. It tends to be the go-to tool that a lot of coaches use around the hobby. I mean, I learned this from when I came back into the hobby back in 2002. I learned this from the guys who were tweaking. You said, do you believe in the Tudor single clip round fast? Yeah. Yeah. Any base pretty much. Be it Tudor, Buzzball, ITZ, Gino H had some bases. It was a guy among us. His name is Gino H. Haven't heard from him in a while. Gotta look him up. But yeah, he had a base that he invented. Yeah, pretty much any bases out there. You know, as long as it's got prongs, and if the prongs are receptive to a tweak, then you can pretty much use any base. And it's just up to you how you coach that base to respond. Patrick Hansen, you said you really appreciate this video. Yeah, no problem. I mean, that's what this channel was about. When I first created this channel, the Electric Coach channel, you know, well, when I first created it, I didn't think I was going to be teaching anybody anything, but that came later. But over time, as I began to work on this channel, I was like, yeah, you know, I could, you know, do this or that, and that's how I come up with these ideas. You know, how to tweak, how to paint, how to customize, how to decal, you know, talk about particular plays, what have you. That's ongoing with this hobby. We have a tournament coming up in July in North Carolina. I'm gonna try to make that tournament this year. And I'm going to get some game time action from other coaches around the hobby. You know, I'm going to actually, you know, have gameplay, which I already have on this channel right now. But I try to keep the gameplay videos as recent as possible. You know, the last game time video I did was a playoff game that was done at the Capital City Clash in College Park, Maryland. I didn't get a chance to do the championship. They started the championship without me, so I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to put my camera up and get game time play from that. But when I go to North Carolina, I intend to be on top of all the game action in the room. You know. I'm limited to the room size and how much space is available, because I don't just have a camera in my hand. I have a camera mounted on a tripod and the crane, and I get the camera over top of the table, and that requires a bit of logistics and work and space. But that's a different story. All right, and you said Howard Klein said you stick the pliers inside the graver and it heats up the pliers. The device tells you when to remove the tool. Okay, yeah. Next Level has new bases. Yeah, Next Level is another company. They have figures and bases as well. So, in the early days of the game, I mean, if you just go back just like 20 years, you had at the time that it was Miggle Toys before the name returned to Tudor. They were selling their bases, and you had Buzzball. Those are the two main base companies. ITZ was selling bases too, but they were selling more dials. They're lateral dials. So now 2023, you get bases from Tudor. You still can get Buzzball bases. You can get ITZ bases. You can get bases from Next Level. You can get figures from Tudor. Buzzball still sells figures. You get figures from Next Level. You get ITZ figures. I got all of them, and I build teams. I still use the traditional Hayley Repro figures. Let's see what we got. Amazon. Okay, the price for it. Okay. All right, guys. Look, I think we've covered enough here. And I thank you guys for coming on and watching and joining me here at the Electric Coast channel. And thank you guys for watching. Okay, hang on. Let's pause that. We got a couple more comments came in. Says Patrick Hasten, you said I might have viewed your video late, but can you give suggestions to the steps to tweak ITZ round front or any ITZ base? Alright, this video right here, the techniques that I showed in this video are the basic steps to any base that you have. Flattening the prongs, flashing the prongs, angling the prongs, and using warm pliers on your prongs. You can apply this to any base you have. What I gave you today were the fundamental steps to base tweaking. Alright? So now again, later, as you apply these fundamentals, you will begin to see everything else you need to do to the base, which I can show you. But I want you to do these basic steps first. Alright? Let's crawl before we walk, and then we'll start running when we get good at walking. Alright? You said, Sebastian said, thanks, Coach. It's been a pleasure hanging out and learning some things. Yeah, glad to have you here. Glad to have all you here. Howard Klein, Patrick Hasten. Who else we got? Sebastian Stark. Yeah, I think he went away he's done for the night. Okay, yeah. Glad to have you here, guys. Glad that you came on board. You said, now Patrick Hasten, you said after tweaking, do you have to retweak a base later? Yeah, if you leave a base after you tweak a base, and if you allow that base to sit, let's say you tweak a base today, and you set that base down for an entire week, right? And you go back to that base may or may not, depending on the texture of the plastic, and depending on the exposure, you want to put your figures away. If we have cases, you can put your figures in. And the cases have sponge inserts where you can set your figure in the base inside of the insert. But if you leave the bases out in the open, in the air, it's like right now, you look at my table, right? If I leave that base right there for about a week, right? I come back and I look at the base again. I just may have to put the pliers again to the base. I won't have to reheat it. But the prongs may return back to their original shape a little more or a little less. It varies. One of the ways I maintain, one of the ways I check, I use this caliper tool right here. And I measure, I put my prongs between here, and I measure the thickness of the prong from the inside and the back side, or the tongue side or the lip side, if you will, of each prong. And it will tell me how many millimeters that prong expanded after it sat. All right. You can get this from any hardware store, by the way. This one is Pittsburgh. I mean, I don't get paid for advertising, but there's a name right there. So it's a caliper tool. All right. Let's see. Okay. Think we're done. So listen, guys. Glad to have you here. I'm Mo. Thanks for watching.